Did you know that nearly 87% of people ignore the warning signs of poor leg circulation until it's far too late, often mistaking life-altering symptoms for simple muscle fatigue or the inevitable march of age? If you have ever felt that persistent heaviness in your calves, experienced cold toes even in a warm room, or noticed that strange, buzzing, tingling sensation that just won't go away, you are standing at a critical crossroads where your body is begging for attention before things escalate into permanent damage. We aren't just talking about discomfort here. We are talking about the primary transport system of your entire life force, your blood struggling to defy gravity and return to your heart against overwhelming odds. But here's the twist. Most of what you have been told about walking it off is actually making the problem worse by placing undue stress on compromised valves. This is why I have developed a specific, scientifically backed protocol that will completely reset your lower body's vascular health in less time than it takes to brew a cup of coffee. Don't skip ahead, because the game-changing tip that determines whether these exercises actually work or just waste your time comes at the 7-minute mark, and missing it could mean another month of throbbing legs. The problem starts with the fact that we were never designed to sit in ergonomic chairs or stand on concrete floors for 8 hours a day, which effectively turns our lower limbs into stagnant pools where metabolic waste begins to accumulate and thicken the very fluid meant to keep us alive. Imagine your circulatory system as a complex network of high-speed highways, but because of modern lifestyle habits, there is a massive multi-car pileup happening right at your ankles that is slowly backing up traffic all the way to your vital organs. Many people experience what doctors call the silent stagnation, a phase where your legs feel fine during the day but become restless, itchy, or swollen the moment you try to rest at night. This isn't just a nuisance, it's a biological alarm bell indicating that your second heart, the muscle pump mechanism in your calves, has effectively gone on strike. Wait until you see what happens next when we actually analyze the cellular impact of this buildup, because the results are enough to make anyone want to stand up and move immediately. If you have ever felt that dead leg sensation after sitting too long, comment yes right now, because you are definitely not alone in this struggle, and realizing the scale of this problem is the first step toward reclaiming your mobility. The danger of ignoring these symptoms lies in the progressive nature of venous insufficiency, where the tiny one-way valves in your veins, which are supposed to prevent blood from flowing backward, begin to stretch, leak, and eventually fail under the constant pressure of gravity and inactivity. When these valves lose their structural integrity, the blood begins to pool in the lower extremities, creating high-pressure zones that cause the delicate capillaries to leak fluid into the surrounding tissue, which is precisely why you see that indentation when you press your thumb into your shin. But here's where it gets truly concerning. As that blood sits stagnant, the oxygen levels drop and the acidity increases, creating a toxic microenvironment that can lead to skin discoloration, varicose veins, or even the development of dangerous clots known as deep vein thrombosis. Most people think they can just wait for it to go away, but the reality is that the human body isn't a self-clearing drain. It requires mechanical assistance to overcome the massive hydraulic challenge of moving blood 5 feet vertically back to the heart. The real secret to reversing this process comes at 4:30 in this video, where we break down why traditional cardio might actually be trapping fluid in your ankles instead of clearing it out. Before we jump into the fixes, we have to talk about a case study involving a 45-year-old accountant named Marcus, who thought his swollen ankles were just a side effect of a busy tax season, until he realized he couldn't even put his shoes on in the morning. Marcus tried every expensive compression sock and herbal supplement on the market, but he missed the fundamental physiological unlock that we are going to cover today, leading to months of wasted money and increasing pain that almost cost him his ability to walk his daughter down the aisle. He believed the common myth that if he just stood more, his circulation would improve, but standing in one place is actually just as detrimental as sitting, because it keeps the calf muscles in a state of isometric stagnation. If X happens, like your legs becoming purple or blotchy when you stand, you must do Y immediately, which is our 30-second elevation test that we are about to perform together right now. Try this now and see what happens. Lie flat on your back, lift your legs to a 45-degree angle, and hold them there for 30 seconds. If your feet turn pale or ghost white, you have a significant circulation deficit that needs addressing before you finish this video. Most people miss step number 3 of this diagnostic process, but it's the most important indicator of your vascular age and your risk for future complications. While your legs are still elevated, I want you to vigorously pump your feet up and down as if you are pressing on a gas pedal, doing this for exactly 30 seconds without stopping to see how quickly the blood returns once you sit back up. A healthy system should see a flush of healthy pink color return to the skin within 5 to 10 seconds. If it takes longer or if the color stays patchy and uneven, your internal pumps are operating at less than 50% capacity. But don't panic yet, because even if you failed this test spectacularly, the human vascular system is remarkably resilient and can be retrained to move fluid more efficiently with the 3 fast fix exercises we are going to dive into right now. The difference between success and failure here isn't intensity, but rather the specific angles of engagement that force the deep posterior tibial veins to constrict and push fluid upward. Stick around, because the most effective exercise of the 3 is often the one people perform backwards, which can actually trap blood in the feet rather than releasing it. Exercise number 1 is the dynamic dorsiflexion reset, a move so subtle you can do it under your desk, yet it is mathematically more effective at moving blood than a slow 20-minute walk around the block. The secret is to not just wiggle your toes, but to create a forceful contraction in the front of your shin while simultaneously stretching the calf, which creates a vacuum-like effect in the deep veins of the lower leg. Most people do option A, which is just casual ankle circles, but you need to do option B, which involves rhythmic maximal contractions that last for exactly 2 seconds per rep. When you engage the tibialis anterior muscle on the front of the leg, it signals the antagonistic muscles in the calf to relax and fill with blood. Then, as you switch directions, the calf muscle squeezes that fresh blood upward like a tube of toothpaste being rolled from the bottom. I want you to perform 20 of these right now, focusing on pulling your toes toward your kneecap with enough force that you feel a slight burn in the front of your leg, because that burn is the sound of your metabolic waste finally being flushed out of the system. Troubleshooting tip: if you feel a sharp pain in the heel while doing this, stop and adjust your heel position outward to take the stress off the plantar fascia while keeping the vascular benefit intact. The real magic happens when we transition to exercise number 2, which is often referred to by top vascular surgeons as the second heart wake-up call, and it focuses entirely on the soleus and gastrocnemius muscles. While most people think calf raises are for bodybuilders, they are actually the most powerful tool in your medical arsenal for preventing the accumulation of interstitial fluid. However, wait until you see what happened next in our research. We found that doing calf raises on flat ground only clears about 30% of the stagnant fluid, whereas performing them with your heels hanging off a small ledge or even a thick book doubles the stroke volume of your veins. This creates a deep stretch eccentric phase that physically elongates the veins before the powerful contraction sends the blood surging toward the popliteal vein behind the knee. Most people skip the 3-second hold at the bottom of the movement, but that hold is exactly when the veins are most receptive to refilling with oxygenated blood from the arteries. If you are enjoying these deep insights, save this guide right now for the step-by-step breakdown you'll want to reference later this week when your legs start to feel that afternoon heaviness again. Don't skip ahead, because we are approaching the final exercise, which is the absolute nuclear option for leg circulation, especially for those who spend more than 4 hours a day on their feet. Before we get there, let's look at the troubleshooting tip for exercise number 2. If you experience cramping while performing calf raises, it's a direct indicator of a magnesium deficiency paired with poor hydration, meaning your blood is physically too thick to be easily pumped. If this happens, you need to shorten the range of motion and focus on the squeeze rather than the stretch until your electrolyte levels are back in balance. Many viewers tell me that they started seeing their spider veins fade after just 2 weeks of this specific routine because they were finally providing the mechanical pressure needed to keep the vein walls from collapsing. Remember, the game-changing tip is coming in just 2 minutes, and it relates to the temperature of the water you use news after you finish these movements. Comment yes if you've experienced that relief when you finally sit down and put your feet up, because what I'm about to show you will make that feeling permanent rather than temporary. The third and final exercise is the vascular wall inversion, which leverages the most powerful force in the universe, gravity, and combines it with diaphragmatic breathing to create a siphoning effect that pulls blood from the ankles all the way to the heart with almost zero effort. Unlike traditional legs up the wall, we are going to add a micro movement that involves a butterfly opening of the knees, which opens the femoral canal and allows for unobstructed flow through the largest vessels in your legs. When you are in this position, your heart doesn't have to work against 5 feet of gravity. Instead, it simply acts as a receiver for the torrent of fluid that has been sitting in your lower limbs all day. But here is the secret most people miss. If you don't engage your diaphragm with deep belly expanding breaths during this exercise, you are missing out on the thoracic pump, which uses the pressure changes in your chest cavity to literally suck blood upward from the vena cava. Most people just lay there and scroll on their phones, but if you do it that way, you are only getting about 20% of the potential benefits. For those looking for an even deeper level of healing, I recommend a method comparison between passive elevation and active inversion. The former is great for recovery, but the latter, which involves the leg movements we just discussed, is what actually repairs the damaged valves over time. Imagine your veins as a series of lock and dam systems on a river. If the water isn't moving with enough force, the gates get stuck with silt and debris, which is exactly what happens with your blood cells and the tiny delicate flaps inside your vessels. By performing these 3 exercises in sequence, reset, wake up, and inversion, you are essentially power washing your internal plumbing system and restoring the elastic snap to your vein walls. Many people find that their restless leg syndrome completely vanishes within 72 hours of starting this protocol because the nerves in the lower leg are no longer being compressed by excess fluid and toxic metabolic buildup. This is a micro solution you can implement immediately. Try drinking a tall glass of warm lemon water before this routine to decrease blood viscosity and make the flushing process even more efficient. As we reach the final stage of this circulation masterclass, it is important to realize that exercise is only 70% of the equation, and the final 30% comes from how you manage your environment throughout the rest of the day. A real-world example of this is Sarah, a retail worker who felt like her legs were made of lead by 3 p.m. every single day until she discovered the piston movement technique, which involves doing 3 reps of exercise number 1 every single time she checks her watch. This simple habit prevented the blood pooling phase from ever starting, meaning she ended her 10-hour shifts with the same energy she had in the morning. If you find yourself in a situation where you can't do the full exercises, simply squeezing your glutes and calves alternately while standing in line can act as a mini pump to keep the fluid from becoming stagnant. The most dangerous thing you can do for your circulation is to sit with your legs crossed, as this physically kinks the femoral artery like a garden hose, creating high-pressure turbulence that damages the vessel lining and increases your risk of arterial stiffness. Now, I promised you a game-changing tip about what to do after these exercises, and here it is. The thermal contrast finish is the single best way to lock in the vascular benefits you've just created. After you finish the exercises, head to the shower and blast your legs with 30 seconds of cold water, followed by 30 seconds of warm water, repeating this 3 times. The cold causes the veins to constrict violently, vasoconstriction, and the heat causes them to expand, vasodilation, which essentially acts like a workout for the tiny muscles inside your blood vessels, keeping them flexible and strong enough to fight gravity 24/7. Most people skip this because it's uncomfortable, but this is the secret weapon used by elite athletes to prevent swelling and speed up recovery after grueling matches. If you feel like your feet are always cold, this contrast method will actually recalibrate your internal thermostat by forcing blood into the peripheral capillaries that have been shut down for years. Troubleshooting. If you have high blood pressure, skip the extreme temperatures and stick to cool and tepid until your body adapts to the increased flow. Before you go, it is vital to understand that your legs are the foundation of your entire health journey, and poor circulation is often the first visible sign of more systemic issues that could be affecting your heart, brain, and kidneys. If you ignore the warning signs in your feet today, you are essentially ignoring the check engine light of your entire body, hoping that a problem with the plumbing won't eventually lead to a disaster with the foundation. But by spending just 90 seconds a day on these fast fix exercises, you are taking a massive leap toward long-term mobility and a life free from the nagging pain of heavy, tired legs. You have the tools, you have the science, and now you have the protocol that can save you years of discomfort and thousands of dollars in medical bills. Don't let this be another video you watch and forget. Make the commitment right now to perform the 30-second test one more time tonight before you go to sleep to see how much you've already improved from just one session of movement. I want to make sure you have every advantage possible on this journey to perfect circulation and vibrant health, which is why I've prepared even more resources for you to dive into immediately after this video ends. Watch next. The top 5 foods that thin your blood naturally for deeper insights into how your diet can either be the fuel or the friction in your circulatory system, and see how simple additions like ginger and garlic can act as natural lubricants for your veins. Save this guide for the step-by-step breakdown whenever you feel that tingle coming back, as a quick refresher can stop a flare-up in its tracks before it ruins your day or keeps you awake at night. Finally, make sure to subscribe for part 2 of this series, where I reveal the deep tissue drainage technique that professional massage therapists use to clear chronic edema in less than 5 minutes. Your journey to lighter, healthier, and pain-free legs starts the moment you decide that you are no longer willing to settle for discomfort. And I am here to help you every single step of the way until your second heart is beating stronger than ever before.